I think she is one of the more creative people I've ever known. You know, the way her brain works is just fascinating to me. You know, her brain just functions very differently than mine, but um, you know, obviously very intelligent.
It's, I think it gave me a name and a set of descriptions of what I should be looking out for, so it made life easier to have the diagnosis. Before, I was just like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
I learned about Irene's bipolar disorder about 2 years ago, I believe. 2 years ago, I had no idea before. I've known her for maybe, 7, 8 years, and I did not know about her disorder until about 2 years ago.
When did we find, like, medically? I probably think it was within 6 months of knowing her, right?
Actually, I don't think I knew that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think I really knew that actually until Ryan confirmed it to me fairly recently, like within the last 6 months. It didn't surprise me at all, but no, I didn't know.
So bipolar disorder is manifested by patients having periods of time called mania. And that's a mood elevation. And then other times they have depression. So the difference between somebody that has just depression and somebody that has bipolar is that people with bipolar have this other period of time in their life when they have mania. So mania is basically it's a type of mood where it's kind of the opposite of depression. So instead of being depressed, they're extremely happy and euphoric. Not like happy, like, you know, you got good grades or something like that, but like happy, like inappropriate situation. Okay, so they might be like singing and dancing and like telling jokes that people think are kind of out of place.
For me, and different people manifest it differently. You know, for me, I just feel more energy and I start doing more stuff. Mm-hmm. In fact, Ryan knows that, she's going into the upswing when I like start like telling people I do this for you and this for you and this for you, and he's like, oh God, too many projects.
It always felt like we weren't quite sure which version of Irene was going to show up. You know, the one that was kind of super hyper, or the one that was
Depressed and morose and quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get one or the other. Sometimes you get the middle ground, but it's usually one or the other.
Yeah.
She can kind of get very quiet and distant, and I know that she'll go kind of sit down on the sofa and start knitting, you know, just having that kind of where it's too much, too overwhelming, and so she kind of retreats a little bit. So I feel like in large gatherings, like Christmas, you know, where everything's a little chaotic, that happens.
The real highs, and she talks really, really, really fast, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with what she's saying. and really happy and really, you know, jovial and really on, you know, really funny and like almost like it's a party. And then other times she's just really, really down, really tired, and just the opposite. So that's
Some people are different, but usually it's like they get manic, and the mania usually like lasts for like 1 to 3 months, usually shorter, because when people are manic like that, they usually get noticed. Like their family notices, they take them to the hospital, or the police notice them because they're just acting out in society. So it's not something subtle. Somebody will notice. And then after that, they usually immediately go into a depression. Like one day they're manic and the next day they're suicidally depressed. So it just goes from one to the next. And the depressions can last 3, 6, 12 months. It can last quite a while if you don't do anything. We usually do something, but it could last a long time. So it's usually like 1 to 3, in terms of duration. And then they might be okay for years, right? So then might be okay for 5, 6 years until the next time it happens. It varies from person to person, but if you just took a sample of like 100 people that have bipolar, then they would say something like that. Well, when I was 16 or 17, I had a mania, and then I've had a depression afterwards, and then I was okay until I was 27.
It doesn't feel any different than it's all, ever felt before. It's just a lot up, a lot down. But now it's easier for me to say, oh yeah, hey, I'm just feeling really blue, but it's gonna pass soon and everything will be wonderful again. And it's not like something that you can record time-wise. It's more along more like, when I hit that moment where it starts going down. And that moment could be anything. I could be watching a sad movie suddenly, or I could just suddenly feel overwhelmed, and that moment just happens, and that's when it goes down again.
Very good relationship. She's cool. She's cool. I mean, she's fun to be around.
And I think she's very generous. She does a lot for everyone around her, and that's one of the things I admire about her.
She just likes to, be creative, like Mom said, and she is generous. She wants to give, she gives a lot of her time and energy to helping us and you guys, and she's just a good person with a good heart.
I think it would have been easier to accept if people around me accepted it more. But my parents are like really old school Chinese, so this kind of stuff doesn't happen, Yeah. So, people that, it doesn't happen, not in my house. If you have this, what are people going to think about me kind of things. And it took me a while, I think, longer to actually say, okay, this is their baggage, not mine, and I shouldn't let their baggage influence mine.
We have a lot of Asians here, and so we studied the Asian population, and I forgot what the Asian population here in San Jose is, probably like 20% or something like that. I forgot what it was. But so we studied what the population of our clinic was that was Asian, and it's only 4%. Now, does that mean that only 4%, like Asians have a lower rate of getting bipolar? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that they don't do anything about it until it's really bad, right? And that's what happened. So there's different degrees of bipolar, right? And so in our population, even though it was only 4% Asian, they tended to be the ones that had more severe illness. That makes sense? So in general, I think, wherever you are, whatever you look like, it looks kind of the same. I mean, the rate.
It's harder when you don't. It's just harder when you don't understand and,
why is this person being this way?
Well, yeah, and because when she would be in super hyper mode, she is someone that takes a lot of energy to be around, and she kind of talks, and doesn't stop, I adore Irene. I really do. I always have. But I think before knowing, I always felt like I kind of really had to mentally prepare myself, before she came over, kind of get ready for it. And now, I don't know, I think more patient, like you said, just more patient.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it'll really affect anything. I mean, she has it, so what?
Yeah.
It's just something you deal with. It's like having a period. It just happens every so often, and then it's over. Yeah.
You have to be able to accept that these things happen to you, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person, right? And that's hard for people. I think it's especially when you're young and you don't have much going on, and this is, you got your life, and then this happens and it's a big part of your life, right? It's hard to be able to separate yourself from that thing that happened to you. But that, that's something we have to work towards.
It made me more aware, and the more I read about it, the more I knew how people usually reacts to certain things. So it made me more aware when things were going wrong that maybe it's not me. And it also made it easier for me to spot it in other people. It's like, that's not you talking.
Yeah.
Not normally talking.
And so when people are able to distance themselves from their illness, that really helps them accept the treatment. Okay, so from a psychological point, that sort of ability to separate yourself from your illness is really important in terms of engaging in treatment effectively. Most of the treatments are pharmaceutical, but there are some studied behavioral interventions. The main ones that are studied there's three main ones. There's cognitive behavior therapy, family focused therapy, and another one called interpersonal social rhythms therapy. And so each of those sort of tackles a different aspect of the bipolar illness. I think the cognitive behavior therapy is most often associated with treating depression. And so when people are depressed, either bipolar or not, they tend to have a lot of negative cognitions. And so if you do give them therapy, you're trying to sort of challenge those cognitions so that basically depression doesn't feed on itself, right? Now, in terms of the medications options, it used to be that we would try to treat the bipolar based on where you were. So if you're depressed, we treat the depression. If you're manic, we treat the mania. But it's really thought that what we should do is treat the illness itself as a whole, okay? And so what we're trying to do is not use an antidepressant when you're depressed, but we're trying to use a mood stabilizer so it sort of damps down ups and downs. It doesn't flatten you out, but it sort of clamps down so you're not so high at times, not so depressed at times.
Anyways, I have some friends who have gotten really depressed. Just talking about it out. I think there's a stigmatism of not talking about it. That that there's something wrong with her, or she needs help, or she's I don't know, the whole
she's not on her meds or something.
Yeah, but she's off her meds. That's something that I think, especially during the pandemic, that people are embracing more and talking about it more, and mental health awareness. And so I think that's a good thing.